Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for a brand new Chelsea FC news video. Today, things are starting to get exciting. I said that as soon as the Euros was going to be done, there was going to be things to talk about again. There was going to be news, developments, movements, whatever you may call it, that Chelsea might actually end up signing a player this summer. And maybe we might just sell a couple too. There's finally things to talk about with no distractions of European football. So, without any further ado, we are creeping up on 200,000 subscribers, and it would be absolutely ideal if before Season 3 of GBFC happens, we've managed to hit that number. So if you are not yet subscribed, make sure you do so, hit the like button on today's video while you're at it, and turn on bell notifications so that you never miss a bloody video. Link to my second channel also in the description. But story number one is kind of like a personal happiness story, seeing Ruben Loftus-Cheek in the brand new Trivago Chelsea training kit for the 21-22 season. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is back, Conor Gallagher's also back, Mark Guehi's also training, but Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I want to focus on him for a moment because something we always see with pre-season, particularly with Chelsea, but also with all clubs, you know, Chelsea have got a massive squad of players that are contracted to Chelsea Football Club. We've always had, for many years now, a loan army of players who Chelsea don't quite want to sell, but they want to send them out on loan until the time's either right to bring them into the first team, which is kind of rare, but it does happen, or sell them for a more reasonable price later on in their careers. At the moment, when I look at the players that have come back, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is the one who, for many years now, we've wanted to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek making his name at Chelsea Football Club. We saw, before the injury, when Maurizio Sarri was in charge, when we went to the USA for a friendly that was, yes, for charity, but still, on the pitch that we were playing on, it wasn't necessarily ideal. Ruben Loftus-Cheek gets himself an Achilles injury, and we've not seen the same player since. However, I firmly believe that it is last chance saloon for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. As much as, you know, Conor Gallagher, people are excited about him. I'm excited about him. He's still very young though. Same with Mark Guehi as well. With Ruben, he's 25 years old, and sometimes I have to click my fingers and remind myself that Ruben Loftus-Cheek isn't quite in the same age level as somebody like a Conor Gallagher. And I think at 25 years old, Ruben's moved to Fulham last year on loan. There were some good performances, but we didn't see the dominant Ruben that we saw at Chelsea in that season when we won the Europa League. Let me just shut this door a minute. It's waving around in the wind. And as happy as I am to see him back in Chelsea training, and Thomas Tuchel has said that he wants to give Ruben Loftus-Cheek a chance during this pre-season, which I'm very happy about. If Ruben can show himself during pre-season, we've got our first pre-season friendly behind closed doors against Peterborough of the Championship this weekend, which at the moment, I don't think Chelsea are going to be showing it. If they are, then you guys know the first 6 things we learnt of the pre-season will be Chelsea versus Peterborough this weekend. And I think Ruben will certainly be one of those players that Thomas Tuchel is looking at in the early stages of this pre-season. So, as always, the conversation doesn't just end with me moving from point 1 to story number 2. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think this is Ruben's last chance? Do you think he's going to get a place in Thomas Tuchel's Premier League squad this season? I'm unsure. I hope that pre-season is good for Ruben, and I hope he gives it absolutely everything to prove that he can be one of our central midfielders next season. We move into story number 2, and again, it's kind of a man who has been on the periphery around the pre-season time many a time, Dujon Sterling, 21 years old. He's a wing-back, and Thomas Tuchel is reportedly very impressed with what he's seeing in the early stages since Dujon Sterling has come back into Chelsea training. What is also interesting is that when Thomas Tuchel was coach of Borussia Dortmund, Dujon Sterling was also on their radar then. So in terms of Chelsea missing out on Achraf Hakimi, who we know was a player that we were interested in, he ended up going to PSG because what it looked like was that he was a little bit bottling the idea of playing for the champions of Europe. So he downgraded, he went to PSG. No worries, mate. You don't want to play for Chelsea? It's okay. We can wave you on. We got Tino Livramento, and apparently we got Dujon Sterling as well. So, again, it's one of those where we always see players in Chelsea pre-season over-delivering potentially on what people would have expected for them, or there are fringe players who Chelsea, again, they're wondering whether it's sell or loan out again? Are we going to give them another chance to loan out, or do we just sell them now? And Dujon Sterling, if he's impressing Thomas Tuchel, then maybe the fact that we've missed out on Hakimi this summer, could there be a chance for Dujon Sterling to be one of those fringe players around the first team squad this season? Again, don't want to jump the gun with any of this because pre-season's always the same. At the moment, Danny bloody Drinkwater's training as well. And I mean, there's a more chance of me not drinking water for a year than I think there is him starting in a Chelsea shirt again for the first team in a competitive game. That's just, I don't want to be rude about it. And I know that is pretty rude, what I've just said, but that's genuinely what I believe. Danny Drinkwater, I don't think it's going to work out for him. He's training right now too. But at least with Sterling, there are positive messages coming from our manager, Thomas Tuchel. We move into story number 3 of today's video, and it is regarding Kurt Zouma. And supposedly, Chelsea are willing to offer Kurt Zouma as an exchange for Roma defender Gianluca Mancini. Now, I didn't know too much about Mancini. He's obviously unfortunate in the sense that, well, fortunate in the way that Italy are European champions, but unfortunate in the sense that Bonucci and Chiellini are quite clearly the Italians' first choice centre-halves. Gianluca Mancini is actually kind of similar to Kurt Zouma in some ways. He's very tall. He's about 1.90 m, which is pretty tall. I'm 1.88 m, and I consider myself a tall, lanky geezer. But he's 1.90 m, and he's actually a pretty good goal-scoring centre-half. He scores, on average, 1 every 10 or so games, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add it up over the course of the season, and you look at Kurt Zouma last season at Chelsea, funnily enough, even though we finished in the top 4, Kurt Zouma was one of our Premier League top scorers. Mancini scored quite a few goals in Serie A, and he is the kind of player also who gets a little bit feisty. He loves a yellow card, and sometimes that boils over into 2 yellow cards, which equals a sending off, if you didn't know the rules of football. So, Gianluca Mancini, again, if it's going to be as a swap deal for Kurt Zouma, I don't think Mancini has done enough in my eyes from what I know about him, which of course, there's definitely people out there that watch a lot more of Roma than I do, and a lot more of Italian football than I do. But in terms of the centre-back conversation at Chelsea, I think I've made it very clear that we've already got some very good centre-halves at the club. Kurt Zouma, wonderful scoring record, very, very useful player, but at times can be a bit clumsy, can make mistakes. And as I've said in recent videos here on GBFC, in terms of that pecking order that we talk about for Thomas Tuchel with centre-halves, I think Zouma, at the moment, is down the bottom of that pecking order of players that were in the squad and available for choice last season. So, does Thomas Tuchel see Gianluca Mancini as a top-quality prime centre-back target to improve Chelsea's defence this summer? Again, I think these reports and rumours are a little bit too early to make a judgmental comment on that thus far. We spoke about Jules Koundé yesterday. In my opinion, I think that would be a better signing. I think there's more potential there. He's a bit younger, and it kind of fits more with the mould of the team. We move into story number 4, and we're going to talk about this man again. I've been watching not a lot of YouTube, actually, over the course of the last 6 weeks, apart from like the odd Euros content here and there. And I opened up my YouTube subscriptions page yesterday, and I see a load of Chelsea videos again about Erling Haaland. And I sit there wondering, oh, maybe there's something I haven't seen here. Maybe there is some news that has just dramatically disappeared from my radar of Chelsea, energy. But no, it wasn't that. There isn't anything I've missed. There hasn't been an official bid made yet. However, now that the Euros is finished, I believe that if Chelsea are going to make a move, it is going to happen imminently. Like when there's a warning about a natural disaster, you get an imminent warning. I get a feeling that if Chelsea are going to move for Erling Haaland, and in fact going to sign him this summer, I believe that by the end of this week, we're going to hear some information about Chelsea preparing and finalising a bid to submit to Borussia Dortmund. Now that it is official that Jadon Sancho has signed for Manchester United, Borussia Dortmund are standing very firm that Erling Haaland is not going to be sold this summer. However, there's also talks that Roman Abramovich is in the process of releasing available funds in order for Chelsea to go out there and sign Erling Haaland this summer. Now, as much as that isn't really news to much of us, I want to talk a little bit here about my personal view on the commission request of Mr. Mino Raiola, who is the manager of Erling Haaland. He's also the manager of other players such as Pogba. And Mino Raiola is supposedly looking to personally pocket £40 million from the potential sale of Erling Haaland this summer. Now, 40 million quid can supposedly get you Tammy Abraham from Chelsea. It could get you Eden Hazard if you're Chelsea, and get you N'Golo Kante. Mino Raiola, I'm sorry, but I take a look at the geezer and I don't quite see from this image what 40 million is worth, to be fair. And that is well, I mean, it is disrespectful, I know, but it's meant to be in jest, Mino. 40 million quid just for the sale transaction of this player. It's absolutely mind-blowing, and I think it's kind of sad in a footballing sense, and it's the reason why I wanted to address it mainly here as the key focal point of this video, because if Erling Haaland, who supposedly wants this move to Chelsea, he wants to see going to the Champions of Europe is an evident step up in his career. If he wants the move, but it's going to be blocked because Chelsea are refusing to pay 40 million quid to Mino Raiola, first of all, I totally understand it. It's an outrageous request and an outrageous agent's fee. 40 million quid can get you a couple of decent players. For most clubs in the world, every club in the world, spending 40 million could get something good for that. Not Mino bloody Raiola. So it's one of those where I think it's a shame that football agents can stand in the way sometimes due to their this ridiculous demands to stop Erling Haaland moving to Chelsea. If that is the case and we don't end up signing him because that was the stumbling block, I will be absolutely fuming, and I'm sure you guys will as well, and I'm sure Chelsea Football Club will be too. But at the moment, still no bid submitted. Let me know what you think about that 40 million agent fee. It's all reported at the moment. We're not sure for sure at this moment in time, but let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. The final story that I'm going to talk to you guys about today comes from Simon and Dan. Very, very good podcast. Two fantastic guys on the Chelsea community. You should go and follow them if you haven't already done so. In their podcast, they had an exclusive from CFC News page saying that Chelsea are getting ready to prepare a bid for Declan Rice. We all know Declan Rice. He had a great Euros, didn't he? Chelsea boy. It would be nice. We've gone over that one a million times. However, the news regarding this is that the bid that Chelsea are preparing to prepare is going to be around the region of 50 to 55 million quid, which, I don't know about you, that does sound significantly lower than the 100 million that West Ham have reportedly put the price of Declan Rice at this summer. Now, I'll explain this a little bit for you here. It's explained in the article that Simon and Dan have published, but Chelsea going in with a 50 to 55 million pound bid, even though they know it's going to be rejected by West Ham United. Well, maybe they do accept it if someone's been on the boozer the night before with the emails, but it will get rejected. But what it does is it gives Declan Rice the opportunity to be aware that Chelsea are in fact very interested in the player by submitting a bid. Pressure can then be placed on West Ham United from the player. If he turns around and says, look, I want to go back to Chelsea, then West Ham might feel the pressure to lower that 100 million to something in more of the region in which Chelsea would be willing to pay. That is something I could definitely see happening. Declan Rice has said that he's happy to stay at West Ham, but until Chelsea table an official bid, then we're going to have to see how he stays with that stance. And I firmly believe that if Chelsea go in with a low-balling offer, at least it shows the interest. It's not an offer that takes the piss, because 50 to 55 million is still a lot of money for a footballer. We know that West Ham want more, and after his performances at the Euros, that's looking more and more likely of the kind of price that it would have to be. But I do expect maybe Declan to step in and say, listen, I want to move to the Champions of Europe. It would be nice. I really want to see Declan Rice at Chelsea. Let me know your thoughts on that story in the comments down below. And that is going to wrap up today's Chelsea FC news video. Going to be dropping that tier list video that I've been promising you for about 3 weeks very soon. So make sure you're subscribed, turn on bell notifications here on GBFC, and I'll catch you guys later. Champions of Europe, come on you Blues.